Okay, so welcome back. This is session 2 for Data Central, and it's a bit more laid back this time around. It's not going to be me lecturing the whole time. It's going to be more of a workshop and just unload questions as they come, and you probably have some already. But what we're going to cover today are these topics here. First, we're going to cover any questions if you have any. Pretty straightforward. It doesn't sound like you guys had any questions with figuring out what locations you were going to choose. What were your locations, by the way? Do you want to list them off?
Yeah, they were. We had the cashier stand. But these are just the names that we refer to them in the store. So
Okay.
buster station,
Okay.
beer cooler, walk-in, dry prep area, freezer, 3-door, and then back storage room.
That's pretty common. Right? That's about, what is that, eight locations?
Yeah, there's 8.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Good work. Yeah, that's all you needed. You didn't overcomplicate it, and that's a pretty common list of locations. So that's great. Now we're going to look at what we do with those locations, and then we're going to talk about how to build your count sheet. And I'm going to answer all your questions if you've got any, and if time permits, we'll start looking at PFG invoices. So again, this is very much a hands-on workshop. We're going to be diving in and looking at count sheets today. Okay, so you guys have your locations. What now? Now, later today, I'm going to send you a login for your store, but I'm going to go ahead and log in to a different location just to kind of show you. Actually, you know what? Why don't we log into yours? We'll log into Lawrence, and we'll do this. I'll start it off with you, and we'll work on it together. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, everything I just did, you're not going to do. I'm just switching down to the unit level so that you can see everything that's available. Now, this is what it's going to look like when you log in. So you're going to open it up, you're going to log in, and boom, this is what you're going to see. First thing you need to remember is the place you're going to go to. Now, this will change. We're going to make it default so you don't have to find it. But you guys are pioneers. We haven't quite finished all the tweaking. But for you, down on the bottom left, over here, you see that little to-do tab?
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're going to go.
Okay.
And this is pretty much all each one of these buttons, click them all. Then you're not going to break anything. You click it. It's just a place, and it has steps. So since we're working on our count sheet, we're going to be working on the inventory area. And that name may change. These are just names of guides, places. So here we are. And these are ordered by step, with the first one being maintain the inventory count sheet, or we could call it, create your inventory count sheet. And that's where we're going to go. That's what we're doing for this session. Okay, this is it. You got 2 halves that you're going to be working with. You can take your mouse, hover over in the center, anywhere in the center, and drag it down. And that'll give you more room if you need it up top, or more room on the bottom. I like to split it in half. That works out pretty well for me. It's up to you. So what are we looking at exactly? Well, 2 things. The first half is a list of available items that we have already pushed down for you to grab. You may not have, well, actually the answer is you will not have all of these items in this list. Everyone's different. Think of this as the library. and you're going and picking and choosing what you would actually have at your store. Before we get to that, we've got to put in our locations. I think you guys said you have a walk-in, right? Walk-in?
Yep.
Okay.
Walk-in.
So we'll just call it walk-in. I literally just selected this and I started typing. That's all I did. I just hit it and I started typing walk-in. That's it. And then I can hit tab a few times if I want, and that'll bring me to the next line. You can do it that way. Or you can come down here and there's a little plus sign. And that's for adding a new row. Also, same thing. All you're doing is you're just setting up all your different locations. I call this location 2. I hit tab a couple of times. Location 3. Or I can do the plus, and it creates a new row for me to type in. Now, I'm not going to save that because I don't want you guys to have all that. So I'm going to type in walk-in. And when you've got all your locations, you notice how it changes to bold?
Mm-hmm.
That means it is a change that has not been saved yet. So it's waiting to be saved.
Okay.
So I'm going to erase this. Oops. Cancel all my changes. There we go. I'll just save this one because this is one you are going to use. So I'll hit save up here. It's over on the top left. Now you can hit the button. If you like me, I prefer shortcuts. It's just easier. I just do Control followed by S. Saves it right away. But I'm going to go ahead and hit the save button and I'm done. So when I come back, this is still going to be there. Now, let's say you're done. Let's say you've added all of your locations. The next step after you've done that is to start looking for the items that belong there. And when I worked with Todd over at Berry, what we did was we just took a picture of every area and then we looked at it as a reference and just started going down the list and putting everything where it belongs. So we'll start with the walk-in. Okay. I'm going to add another area just so you can see the difference. See this little ... the ellipsis right here?
Yeah.
So I click on that, and it's going to do this drop-down thing. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is going to show me every little thing that belongs in that area.
Okay.
And you only do this once. Well, you might do it again if you add new items that could potentially be in that area. But the idea is you don't change this very often. 2 things you can do. We're going to add our first item. You could go here, and you could hit the drop down and go and find it. That's fine. One way to do it. The other way to do it is to come up here, find it, click it, and I can drag it down and let go. As soon as I do that, it's going to ask me to enter a shelf number. You don't have to, but if you already have a system and you go, oh yeah, that belongs on shelf 3, then you could do that. If you don't, that's fine. Just hit cancel. Oh, I'm sorry. No, cancel the whole thing. Hit OK, just leave it blank. And it won't put in a figure for you. So there you go. You see how it's bold? Has not saved it yet. So I'm going to start adding more items. It may not make sense, the items I'm pulling down, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to grab a few items.
So this has everything that we could possibly get from PFG, so you don't have to worry about like renaming anything or.
That's right. That's right. The best thing to do to find an item, and this is important, remember this, is to use the filter so that you can search for things. Right here where it says item name, I'm going to right click. And then down here, there's something called the show auto filter row. I'm going to select that. And suddenly I have these empty fields. This allows me to type something in and search for stuff. See how it's narrowing down?
Mm-hmm.
But you do need to remember this. Let's say I want to find that 312 Urban Wheat Ale. If I type in urban, it doesn't exist. You need to remember to put a wild card in there. A wild card means you're looking for any part of that description to include that word. All you have to do is put an asterisk in the beginning of whatever it is you're typing, and now I'll find it. Let's find chicken. If I put an asterisk there, it's going to look for anything with the word chicken in it. I've got chicken base, chicken breast, chicken tamales, fajita chicken, shredded chicken. It's all there. You'll use this quite a lot because there are over what? There's 1,700 records in here, so you'll want to search. It's just a very friendly, helpful tool. What else? Beef base, fajita beef, same thing. Egg, liquid egg shade. That's all there. Veggie mix, whole, EGGs and the word veggie, so it showed up too. So, all right, that's search, and you'll use it quite a bit. Now let me show you something else. You're probably wondering why you see chicken breast there 1, 2, 3 times. Let me show you why. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight these. So chicken breast shows up 3 times. Does that mean there are different types of chicken breast? No. You will never see, if it's spelled the same and it's identical as they are here, it is the same item.
Okay.
The only reason they're listed this many times is they're showing you each type of measure. And it just makes it a little less troublesome if you're looking for one specific type of measure. And as you get better at this, you'll begin to understand why. But here's the only thing you need to remember. It does not matter which one you pull down. Not for this. Pull down any one of those, it is the same thing. Let's
So
pull.
like for the Sam Adams 1/6 keg, 1/2 keg, 1/3 keg.
Aha, there you go. So let's do that actually. So I've already got the Sam Adams down here, right? It's right there. Wait a minute, we don't count it, and I don't even think they have a quarter barrel keg.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that.
So you might be tempted to go up here, find it, and drag it down again. But you don't need to do that.
Okay.
You can just go to the drop down right here and change it to half bell.
I gotcha.
Is what that is. And so the reason it might be more convenient to pull a different one down is that if I pull this one down and hit OK, it'll immediately default to the one I was looking for, as opposed to going into the drop down and picking it. That's the only difference. Now, I have 3 columns here. So far, we've only been talking about one. And sometimes you may only need one. For like kegs, you're only going to need one unless for some reason you carry 2 sizes of kegs. But for chicken, you might have 3. So you don't need to pull down chicken breast 3 times if you count it 3 different ways. You don't need to do that. Just pull it down once. And then it will automatically give you the option to choose different measures in the other field. So what have I done there? I basically said, when you're doing inventory, you're going to have this count sheet. And you can either count it by the case, by the bag, or by the pounds. You're basically allowing chicken breast to be counted more than one way, which makes sense. You're not going to count everything by the case. Sometimes you might count it by, let's say I've got a case. I know for sure I've got a case, and I've got a bag, and I know I've got about 7 pounds somewhere in the walk-in. Then I could count 1, 1, and 7, and the system will do the math for you. You're just allowing the count sheet to have more options for counting. I might even have a printout to show you. I'll tell you what, I will show you when we're done what it looks like with the finished product. Okay, so what do you think? Does that make sense, how I'm adding multiple?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does make sense because, a lot of times we'll use just 10 pounds of chicken for, let's say, to make the fajita chicken instead of the shredded chicken. So it
Right,
makes sense.
right. That's right. Yeah, you're not always going to count it by the case, you know. So that's good. Perfect. And again, let's say I come down to area 2. Let's say we're done. We're done with the walk-in. It's all good. Of course, I would hope that you have more than a few kegs and some chicken breast in your walk-in. So we go to area 2. Okay. This second area also has chicken breast. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Sorry. Whoops. Okay. So let's say, let's put my hold on that. There we go. All right. So let's say I have chicken breast in a second area. And there it is. That's fine. Just keep in mind, do you ever count it by the case in this particular area? If not, don't put a case there. Maybe you only count it by the pounds in this particular area and just put pounds. It's not going to cause any damage if you overdo it. It just might look a little busy on your count sheet when it comes time to do inventory. It might confuse whoever's doing inventory going, what do I put? Do I put half a case? What do I put a pound? So you're just trying to make it as simple as possible. Over here on the summary measure, that's exactly what it is. It's a summary. It's completely up to you what you want to put here. It's preferential. It's just a way for you to look at your count sheet and go, let's say I put, if I have a case of 4 10-pound bags, how many pounds total do I have? 40 pounds. So if I came over here and I have 20 pounds of chicken, it's going to figure out, oh, you have a half of case of 4 10-pound bags. That would be your summary. If I change my summary to pounds and I have let's say I have 2 cases of chicken, and it just so happens that each case has 40 pounds, it's going to say you have 80 pounds. Now, as we know, I think it's chicken breast, maybe it's another one that comes in a catch weight. That might be fajita chicken. When we deal with catch weights, you probably want the summary to be pounds. It might be misleading if you put the case weight and it's actually something else. So something to keep in mind. It won't affect your costing in any way because we've already done the math for you on the back end. But for your summary, you just want it to make sense. However you think when you're thinking about your products on hand is ultimately going to end up being your summary. If you think in terms of pounds when you're thinking about how much chicken breast you have, then put pounds there. And you can always change it later. Not a big deal. It's not going to affect your outcome, not going to affect your numbers. It's purely for you to be able to look at it and make sense of it. Then finally, you've got shelf and count order. We talked about that just for a second a moment ago. When I bring an item down for the first time, in fact, I'm going to have them brought down. There we go. Oh, I think because I've been canceling every time, it doesn't want to prompt me. But the first time you do it, it'll prompt you for a shelf number. Not everyone's been using this, but I have a feeling we will. The better we get, we're probably going to lock this down and become more organized. You can put shelf 1, and you'll see it starts to put everything together. So everything that's on shelf 1 is next to each other. And then I can have a second shelf, and I'll put 2s here. If you can see what's happening here, I'll blow this up. It's starting to put everything together. So shelf 2, I've got these 3 items. Shelf 1, I've got these 5 items. And then on shelf 3, we've got everything else. So you see how it's grouping everything together? Mm-hmm. So that's nice because if you print it out, it's going to print it out that way. It's going to print out walk-in, shelf 1, these items. It's totally up to you. If stuff gets moved around all the time in the cooler, then don't do it. Don't use shelves, but it might be perfect for you. And then count order is really up to you. It's just the order that it goes in here. You might choose for it to be alphabetical. You might choose for it to be left to right. Shelf 1, left to right. Shelf 2, left to right. These are all the different methods of counting, and it's entirely up to you how you want to build this sheet. All right, I'm going to cancel all my changes there. And we're back to square one. Okay, so let's do it again. So walk-in, nothing there. I'm going to pull down my my fajita beef. Right away, it asks for enter shelf. I don't have one. I'm just going to hit OK. First thing I need to do is make sure I've got my measures right. And again, it doesn't matter which fajita beef I pull down. I don't look at it, honestly. I just pull down the first one I see. I go, there it is, and I pull it down. Then I figure out my measures down here. And it goes in order. It goes whole, partial, and each. The idea is, I mean, you really could call them large, medium, small. You could call them measurement 1, 2, and 3. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. But the rule of thumb is to go from the biggest measure to the smallest measure. You may only have one, but in this case, I'm going to choose 3. I've got a case. I can also count it by 5-pound bags, or I could count it by pounds. Probably never going to count it by ounces. Oh, but I'll count it by pounds. And I think of fajita beef in pounds. So I'm going to use pounds as my summary measure. That's it. And then I just go on to the next item. Let's do chips. You wouldn't find chips in the walk-in, but we'll put them down there anyways. Okay, that's it. Now chips, we'll probably just do it by the prep batch. That's probably what we'll do there. Let's do something weird. Let's do keg. Let's do no, I'll pick any one of them. We just do it by the keg. Now I'm looking for something that has each. How about empty keg? There it is. Do an empty keg. Now, what I like to do is, you'll notice each shows up right away. Everything is going to show up right away in the whole measure. But I like to keep everything kind of in the same column. So I'm going to clear that, come over here, and hit each. I just have to keep all my prepped batches and my cases and all of that over on the left. And I keep my unit weights in the middle, like pounds and that sort of thing. And then over on the right, I like to do the individual unit measure, such as pounds each. So like this would be your 5-pound bag and then your pounds. Whereas empty keg, the only way you're ever going to count that is by each. You would never count your keg by pounds or anything like that. So, but we've already done most of the work for you. Now you may run into cases where you're like, hey man, I'm missing XYZ, it's not here. That's fine. You can always reach out to us at support. So if you guys have any issues, just email support at fuzziestacoshop.com. Right there. And we can help you out. So just give us a ring, give us a call too if you want. 888-316-TACO. And we can add that item, or maybe it just hasn't been synced. There will be cases where it just hasn't synced to your store, and we'll sync it down, and then you can add that. And it won't affect anything. You can keep, you won't erase your work. You can just keep working while you're waiting for that item to be added. And that's really all there is to it for setting up a count sheet. Let's see. What questions you might have. If you click on the template items tab right next to location templates, this is basically just taking everything you did and listing it out in a grid. And it's just a fast way to see what you've done without everything being collapsed like this, but it's the same stuff. So any questions on building the count sheet?
Yeah, let's say, you know how sometimes PFG will switch an item and it'll be like a brand new item, and it might be, I don't know, for like a limited time offer or something like that. Will this automatically update, or do you need to go in and then, you know, manually change it out?
They will. We will push those out. I usually get those way ahead of time, and I'll make sure it's in this top half right here. So, okay. And it'll show up in this list right here. But you will need to drag it down.
Okay.
We wanted it, the only way we could have made it to where the count sheet was automatic across the board is if everybody had the exact same layout, which isn't possible. So what we will do is make sure that item is available for you to pull down, and then you'll just log in and just drag it down to the whatever spot it needs to be. What else, guys? I'm all yours.
Let's see. I don't know. Yeah, we'll need to email you to sign up for this, right?
I've actually already requested that your store be activated, so you're fine.
Okay.
You were the only ones on the call, so it was easy for me to just reach out and get that started. So I'll probably have something for you by the end of the day for you to log in with, and the link for downloading the software. And you can download it anywhere, as many times as you like, and there is no limit to the number of users that you have. So you can have as many users as you need in there.
So I guess theoretically, not that I don't want to go to the store and spend all day there, but theoretically I could do schedule and the inventory and all that stuff from home.
Oh yeah, that's the whole idea, is to be able to do it from anywhere. Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So when you're done and you've built this count sheet, you'll want to print it out, and your first inventory should probably be on paper, so there's not too much of a learning curve there, and then you can upgrade to a tablet. All you have to do is go up to your reports right here, inventory count worksheet. Now I'm going to go to a different store so I can show you what that looks like.
Okay.
I'll change it. Okay. Okay. All right, here I am. So this is Berry Street. And again, I went down to the bottom left here, and I selected to do. And then I've got all these things here, and I selected inventory entry. And then I've got all the different steps. Now, the first step is what you guys are working on, and that's building the count sheet. Now, in Todd's case, he's already done that. So he goes on to step 2, print your count worksheet. So let me just show you what that looks like. It'll ask you for a couple of parameters. The defaults are fine. You can choose today's date. No, I'm sorry, the date of an inventory, and it won't allow you to do that. Locations is just asking you if you want to do all locations or if you just want to do one. Typically, you're probably going to do all. So I'm going to hit View Report. And this is what's going to print out on paper. This is it. And you'll see you've got 3 columns, just like you had set up in your count sheet. If it has a box or a measurement available, it will list the measure and it will put a border. So as you can see, for all the kegs, I can count it by the keg or by the, on these 2, I've got the bottles. But nothing over here, that's because we didn't set up a measure for partial or each. And as I begin to scroll down, you'll start to see there are some that have more than one way of counting. But in this case, most of them only have one. Black pepper, he gave it 2. Potatoes, he had by the pound or by the case. Tortillas, by the bag or by the case of bags. Not many of them have all 3. He put Roma tomatoes, he has all 3. But for the most part, they all have 2 or 1 different ways of measuring. That's all there was to it, which is kind of neat. And then, of course, you've got the summary unit of measure, which is what we talked about earlier. It's just another way of interpreting how much you have on hand. it doesn't really mean much if you've only got one unit of measure. So in this case, I've only got keg, which means the only way I can interpret that is by kegs. This sort of thing only makes sense when you've got something like the Roma tomato that we were looking at. I can pull that back up. There it is. So I've got 3 ways of counting it. I can count it, and I don't have to pick one. I can choose all 3. I'm not saying I have 1 pound. If I put 1 and 16 there, that would be like saying I had 2 pounds. You just count. I know I've got 1 pound and 80 ounces. Or you could just say I've got 24 ounces. The total is always going to be the total. It doesn't matter how you get there. It's just a matter of whatever's faster for you when you're doing your inventory. So you don't have to think. So I say, oh yeah, I know I've got 1 flat, I've got about 5 pounds. Well, I'm not going to write down how many ounces 5 pounds is. I'm just going to put down 5 pounds. And then over here in the summary measure column, it's just going to tell you, okay, well, if you've got 1 flat and 5 pounds, you've got a total of 30 pounds. That's it. So you print this out and you do your inventory. You might find that maybe you missed a few things and whatnot. That's okay. Write it down, go back, add it, and then I'll show you what we do next. Once you've done your inventory on the count sheet that you created, and it has to be created with Data Central, or it won't make sense. Once you've done all that, you come back, and there's step 3. Step 3 is where you take everything you've done and you enter it into the system. That's where it all ties together. It's also where if you had done the tablet, you would have already done this step. But because we went around and did it on paper, now we've got to enter that information into the system. So we come back and we go to enter your inventory counts. You're going to choose the date of the inventory. Now, we'll just go to the future here and we'll say the 31st. So it's laid out similar to how your count sheet was laid out. Up here, you've got your tabs. And your tabs represent your locations. These are all the ones that I have prepared. And I just go through one location at a time, which makes sense because that's how it printed. So I'm going to start out with my beer cooler, and I'm just going to go down the list. And it goes in whatever order you built your count sheet in. So this just happens to be the order that I dragged them down in. And they can be whatever order you want. He didn't use shelves, and he didn't use any sort of a left to right system here. He just put them in list. But we just got started, so he can fine tune and adjust as he goes along to whatever he sees fit. And so it's that simple. And again, you've got your 3 columns: whole, partial, and each. Large, medium, small. If there is not a measure available, it's going to be gray. The idea is that you've got that sheet in front of you, you're looking at it, and I'm just going to look at it, and I'm just going to go down the list. I've got 2, 3, 5, 1, 4, 8, 9. And I'm just copying because it's going to be line by line the same thing. So I can just copy it over very quickly. Double check to make sure you didn't skip a line and that you are indeed entering the same data that's on your count sheet. Otherwise, this will throw off your cost of goods sold. But with me, I just do a quick rundown. I put it all in there. Oops. There we go. And after I did all my counts, do it too fast, you have to start over. Once I'm done, I'll look at it one more time and see how it's still bold. I haven't saved anything. So I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look at my count sheet, and I'm going to say, okay, that looks good. Then I'm going to go on to the next one. And I can either hit next up here, and that'll take me to the next area, or I can just select the tab. I don't have to go in that order, but that's how it's printed, so it might make sense to do that. And you can hop around, make adjustments. You can come over here and go, oh, you know what? I didn't mean to put that there. That was actually supposed to be over here. That's fine. This is just a place for you to enter everything that you counted. And when you finally get to the very end, go hit validate. And we're going to review all of this next week. We'll look at what you've done. We'll look at a count sheet that you've built. Let's see, what's the date? I don't expect any of you guys to do this month inventory already, but if you do a middle month inventory, we could probably do the June, or if not, we'll just do the end of the June month inventory together, and we'll work on that. So for next week, spend some time logging in, playing around, looking at the reports and the count stuff and the inventory. You're going to build your count sheet. So find some time, sit down, and build the count sheet. That's this week's homework for getting ready. So again, I'll bring you back over there. So again, we log in. We don't see anything. I'm going to close it all down. This is what you're going to see. Nothing. So you just go down to the bottom left. If you forget this part, you might get confused. Because if I drop these down, you can get there from here as well, but it's a different way of doing it. Like I would go here. I would go to count templates. That's one way to do it. And I could just go to setup, count templates. That's going to get me there. Or I can go to the to-do place, and I can go to inventory entry. And I can do maintain inventory count sheets. That's where you're going to spend your time. All right, that's pretty much it. That was today. Is there anything that you guys want to ask me before we go and build count sheets?
I think we're good. I mean, we kind of want to get in there and just play around.
Yeah.
So we're familiar with it.
Okay. Well, let's see if I got an email yet. If not yet, then I will definitely have it by the end of today. If not tomorrow, I'll send it to you, and you guys can rock and roll.
Alrighty, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. Glad you made it.
Yeah, no
Thank
problem.
you.
Okay, guys.
So next week we go at 2 again, right? Or at 11. Or
Well, you'll be at the same time. So yeah, next week at 2 p.m. will be session 3.
okay, cool.
So if you want to sit down on 2 again, you can, but you guys are probably fine. So I'll just see you guys next week at 2.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. You guys have a good day.
You
You
too.
too. Bye.
Bye.